How's it going out there, YouTube? Atomic Moon here, and it is April 20th, 2021, so you guys know what that means. That means it's Tuesday, and I am doing a audio production tutorial video. Tutorial Tuesdays, it's kind of my thing. Picking up where I left off on my Line 6 Helix Native deep dive. I kind of ran into I've actually tried to record this video before, ran into a snag with some technical problems after I was already like an hour into filming it. So I got frustrated and I've kind of put this video series on the shelf a little bit. But I'm going to try to pick it up today, and we are going to be diving into the delay tab inside of Line 6 Helix Native, and I'm going to be showing you guys the ins and the outs on some of the, well, all of the effects that you're going to find inside of the delay tab. So, and then this video is also going to be my first video in the series featuring Cubase 11. I did a video recently talking about how I upgraded to Cubase 11 and went over some of the features. So I'm going to put a link if anybody is interested in checking that out. But without further ado, I'm going to grab a guitar and we're going to start rocking and rolling here. Okay, guys, so here I am inside of Cubase 11, looking very shiny, very new. So one of the cool things about Cubase 11 that I like is that I can actually route a mono channel into an input and have it come out in stereo, which maybe I was able to do in Cubase 5, but it's pretty easy here in Cubase 11. So basically I have my guitar going into this guitar channel right here, being processed by Helix Native right here, and what I'm going to be doing today, if I pull down this tab, you see, just like every other one of these tabs, there's option for mono, stereo, as well as legacy. And I'm going to go ahead and run the delay effects today in stereo, just to really give you a really good feel for it. But just bear in mind that a lot of these stereo delay effects are also available in mono. If you wish to use them in mono. Basically, the rule of thumb that I've kind of used is if I'm running it before my amp, here's my amp simulator right here. If I'm running it before my amp, I will probably do it in mono, unless I'm running it to two different amps and routing those in stereo. Basically, if it's before the amp, probably use mono, and if it's after the amp, use stereo, because most likely, whenever you run it into your amp, it's going to be changed to mono anyway, so you might as well just run it in mono going into the amp. So yeah, we're going to start things off with the simple delay, and this one's going to be just a Line 6 original. A lot of these delay pedals are actually just Line 6 originals, although there are a few on here that are actually based on a couple of delay stomp boxes and rack mount delays and what have you. Actually playing guitar live on this one, that was kind of one of the snags that I ran into when I was filming this video last time, is kind of the one, I had one loop that I was trying to use for everything and it wasn't really working completely well. So I'm going to be playing live today. I'm playing my Robin that I was messing around with last night. I haven't played this guitar in a while. This is kind of one of those guitars that I just kind of look at and I'm kind of afraid to play it. But it's like every time I play it, I'm like, man, I really need to play this guitar more, because this is really my favorite guitar that I personally own. So that's with the delay on. Right now I have a matchstick amp on here, which is basically based on a matchless combo amp, and I'm just running a tube screamer into it, or a Scream 808, based on the Ibanez tube screamer. So it's pretty much just a clean channel. And with the distortion on here, get a little bit more. A little bit more crunch, nothing too over the top, heavily distorted. Going over here to the delay tab, just have the simple delay on here. So the controls here for the simple delay, pretty straightforward: time, feedback, mix, level, scale, and trails. So after looking at the manual, scale is really basically a percentage of how much the right signal is going to get compared to the left signal, because your left signal is basically going to be traditionally is your mono signal, and your right signal is going to be based off of what you're giving over to your left signal. So this is set to 75% right now. If I have this at 800 milliseconds, so basically it's going to delay. It's going to delay on the left side of the stereo signal at 800 milliseconds for as long as the feedback is ringing out. And basically, the scale is going to determine how much of the right signal is going to be in proportion to the left side of the signal. Because if the right signal was going at the same rate as the left signal, then you wouldn't get the stereo effect because it'd be doing the same thing as the left side. So basically, it's offsetting it to 75%. So like if I put this up at 1,000 millisecond or just 1 second. Basically, with this set to 75%, it would be doing the right side at 750 milliseconds. So that's kind of the idea there. And right now I have it set to, I don't have it synced up with my project, but if you click this little clock right there, you can actually get your note sync on here and have it synced up with your project. And yeah, actually have it in the quarter notes based on whatever tempo you have going right now. I don't really have a particular tempo set, so I'm just going to leave it on milliseconds. So yeah, your time is going to be how long between each delay signal, and then your feedback is going to be how long the echoes are going to last. Your mix is going to be your dry wet, basically how what the level of the delay signal is going to be compared to your dry signal level is going to be your overall level. And then your trails tab right here is basically going to determine if you bypass your delay pedal, whether or not it cuts the signal right then, or if it actually allows it to ring out. Like, so say if you're changing a patch really quickly, like you're holding a note out, and then, you know, say you have a guitar signal, like a lead guitar signal, like a hot signal that you're putting delays on, and you're letting a note ring out at the end of the solo, but then you're changing a patch to go to the next part of the song. Maybe you're going to a clean patch or just, you know, some sort of different patch. If you have your trails on, it's going to let that delay signal ring out after you change the patch. Or if you click off, then it'll just as soon as the patch changes, it'll cut it. So just kind of depending on what you're going for. And yeah, these are basically the basics of, you know, delay signals or whatever, and pretty much the rest of these are going to be playing off of these really basic controls. So. So you can tell when you look at your output signal right here that you're getting it in stereo, because the two signals are going to be uneven. If I change this to mono and then bring up my simple delay right here, you'll notice that, I mean, it's all in mono. So these two left-right signals are going to be completely even with each other. And I think I mentioned that maybe in my last video. That's a good way to be able to tell whether or not you're in stereo just by looking at it. If you're in mono, then your left-right signal will be exactly the same, and if it's in stereo, then there'll be some fluctuation going on. So this is just in mono. Then switching it back over to stereo. Yeah, you feel so cool whenever you're messing around with a stereo delay. Like, it just automatically just kind of makes you start playing better. It's just kind of a neurological cool thing. So let's move on to the mod course stereo. or the mod chorus echo. This is gonna be another Line 6 original, and this maybe gives us a couple of more options as far as your low cut and your high cut. This also gives you a modulation mode of chorus or vibrato. So chorus is going to actually kind of split the signal and detune one of the signals and leave the other one at the regular pitch to kind of create some stereo effect to kind of give it that type of a vibe, whereas the vibrato is actually going to fluctuate the volume and not mess around with the pitch. So yeah, so let's hear what this sounds like. You can kind of hear it's giving it that flangy chorus type effect. And let's switch it over to vibrato, see what's going on with that. So this should actually kind of give it a little bit of like a helicopter effect of actually fluctuating the volume up and down. So you can hear it's a lot more subtle than the chorus effect, because the chorus is going to be kind of changing the signal a lot more than the actual vibrato. So let me bump the speed up and maybe bump the depth up, and I'll cut the mix up just to kind of give you an idea of what's really going on here. So yeah, that sounds like complete garbage. But let's kick the vibrato, because it does sound like it's actually changing the pitch. Because I don't think my guitar is really that far out of tune. So I'm gonna leave those same settings and flip over to the chorus. So it seems like the chorus is probably happening a lot faster than the vibrato selection. So let's tune this back down. Maybe bump this up a little bit for the vibrato and cut my mix back down. Let's go back down to 45. And let's try this out. Oh, drop my pick. And switch back over to chorus one more time. Trying not to spend too much time wanking, because this video is probably going to be long enough as it is. So yeah, play around with it. The chorus is going to make things a little bit wetter, and the vibrato is going to be a little bit more of a subtle effect. But at the same time, you're going to want to play around with the speed. You're probably going to want to have it up more for vibrato, maybe lower for chorus. But yeah, just something to play around with. All right, going over to the dual delay. Dual delay, another Line 6 original. So let's look at some of the features on this particular one. Just like the mod chorus, it's giving us chorus and vibrato. So basically the simple delay is just going to repeat. Your repeats are going to be very similar or basically identical to your input signal, whereas the mod chorus, and it looks like on this dual delay, this is actually putting modulation on your delay signal. So, just kind of depends on what you're really going for. So the the modulation on your delay signal is going to provide a little bit more texture to it and kind of make it stand out a little bit more. But you know, maybe that's not what you're into. Maybe you just want a complete repeat of exactly what your input signal is. You know, for example, the simple delay. If I wanted just a slapback delay for something, like if I was recording country or something like that, then I wouldn't want any sort of modulation or anything like that on there. So I would go with like a simple delay. But if I was doing some sort of heavy lead channel, then I might mess around with these modulation delays a little bit more. So it looks like the dual delay really kind of gives you an exact amount for what your left channel is going to be, as well as your right channel, and more options as far as your left feedback and your right feedback. So you can really control the exact time that you're going to get on your left and right channel, as well as how long the notes are going to ring out, or how long the repeats are going to ring out on your left and right channel, as well as how loud compared to your dry signal the left mix versus the right mix is going to be. So yeah, the dual delay really gives you a lot more options as far as that goes, and low cut and high cut. A lot of times with delays and reverbs and stuff, you want to kind of EQ a little bit as far as cutting out some of the highs, cutting out some of the lows. Once again, to kind of make it stand out and to not kind of have these frequencies kind of stacking up on top of each other and building up and causing a big mess. As well as there is a spread on here, as well as the mod course echo. So the spread's going to be how wide your stereo signal is going to be. If I slide this all the way over here, it'll play it back in mono. Or a little bit closer to mono than if it's... in theory. So yeah, if you're looking for something to really be able to control the exact amount that you're using for your left and your right channels, then this would be the delay for you. And another quick note is that, you know, I'm running this through a guitar, but you can run these effects through, or you can run anything through these effects. So if you have a vocal channel that you need some effects for, then you can just route your vocal into Line 6 Helix Native and be able to use these effects on vocals, synths, drums, you know, whatever. Just get creative. Multitap 4, another Line 6 original. So yeah, you can see some similar controls to what we've had in our other delays, as far as your chorus vibrato. But this looks like this is giving you an exact. Basically, this is Multitap 4. There's also a Multitap 6 right here. So this is splitting up into 4 different signals compared to the other delay pedals that we were looking at. They were doing just a straight stereo left-right, so splitting it up basically into 2 channels. So this is going to split it up into 4 channels, and you're going to have controls based on each of the individual repeats. So tap 1 has tap 1 scale, and as I talked about earlier, the scale is going to be relative to your time that you have right here. So right now it's set to 1 second. This tap 1 scales at 24. That means that's going to be playing back the repeats at 240 milliseconds. And so tap 1 pan, this is pan hard left. So basically it's going to be playing over here in the left channel at 240 milliseconds and pan hard left. There's also a level. And then your tap 2 is going to be at 50%, so this is going to be played back at 500 milliseconds, and this is going to be panned slightly to the left. Tap 3, 75. So it's going to be 750 milliseconds, pan slightly to the right, and then the last one is at 100%. The scale is at 100%, so this is going to be playing back the repeats at 1 second, and this is pan hard right. And there's also levels, as I mentioned, for each of the channels if you want to really dial in, you know, what levels you want each of these repeats to be played back at. So, as you can tell, there's a lot of different controls and a lot of different specificities. So you can really get specific on how you want these repeats played back at you. So let's turn this on, see what happens. Is my distortion on? I think so. Turn the gain up. Yeah, this is really good for some atmospheric type of effects to really kind of, you know, put people in a certain mindset, maybe at the beginning of a song or even in a solo or something like that. Going over to the Multitap Six, so it's basically the same concept, but instead of splitting it into 4 parts, it splits it up into 6 parts. So you can see right here, it's the same controls, but there's an added Tap 5 as well as a Tap 6. And also looks like our modulation controls are going to be off on this one. I guess because there's so many taps on here that it's kind of pointless to have the modulation controls on here. So let's play this back. Pretty cool. Going over to the ping pong delay, another line 6 original. Ping pong delay is typically going to be really a not so subtle stereo delay to where it's bop 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 hitting your left and right. Pretty straightforward controls. Set to 600 milliseconds, feedback 40%, scale 50%. So your right side is going to be playing half the speed of your left side. And low cut, high cut, what have you. Let's check this out. Cool. Yeah, I like that. It's a lot more subtle than the other effects we've been messing around with. That Multitap 6 seemed like it was kind of a bit much. So this ping pong is a little bit more subtle, but I think that's kind of makes it more effective in a lot of ways. Sweep echo, another line 6 original. So I'm assuming it's a delay with some sort of a filter effect on it. And yes, here we go. Filter, low pass, band pass, high pass. So you have your shape. I probably got into this over the modulation tab. It was almost 3 months ago that I made that video, so I kind of forget everything that I completely went into during that video. But just a quick update. Basically, your shape is going to be the the way that the signal gets modulated. You have triangle, sine, square, blah, 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 blah. Triangle, basically the modulation is going to go straight up and then straight down and straight up, whereas the sine is going to curve it a little bit more, and square is going to basically be on-off. It's going to be, as you know, whatever parameters you have set, it's either going to be one or the other without any sort of in-between. So yeah, let's turn this on and see what happens. Yeah, so you can definitely tell it's modulating your repeats to kind of give some nice little stoner type vibes there. You know, it is April 20th after all. Different filter types: the low pass, band pass, high pass. So your low pass is going to be well, it's the difference between a pass and a cut. So your low pass, if it was a low cut, then it would be cutting your low. But your low pass is actually going to be cutting your highs. So it's just kind of an audio thing that you got to kind of watch out for. So your low pass should be cutting the high signal. Let me confirm that real quick. Your high pass is going to be cutting your lows. And then your bandpass is going to be cutting just whatever specific frequency is going to be in the middle. It's going to be sometimes referred to as a notch. Yeah, is your bandpass. And then if you wanted to kind of crank it up and make the effect a little bit more noticeable, you would crank up your resonance right here. So this is probably going to give us a real nice like telephony vibe. Let me cut the mix up just a tidge to kind of over accentuate it. So yeah, you can tell that's really giving you like a telephony type wah vibe. So it's basically what a wah pedal is. It's a filter effect. So this is kind of a delay with a wah filter type of effect on it. So mess around. Let me put a square on here just to kind of give you all an idea. Turn that off. Okay. It's a little bit much. So yeah, as I was talking about earlier about the trails, you can tell I'm still getting signal right here. So I have trails off. So if I bypass this, bam, signal's gone. If I turn this on, and then I cut my delay, you can tell that the repeats are still going through, even though the pedal is bypassed. So that's an example of that. Let's go over here to Duct To Delay. So I'm pretty sure the Duct To Delay, by the way, this is actually based on TC Electronic 2290. I would imagine this is basically going to be a delay with a side chain to make the original, or to make the dry signal stand out a little bit more. So basically this is going to act, this is really only going to be acting whenever your input signal isn't going into it. So whenever you have actual input signal going into it, the delay turns itself down depending on how you have the control set. So it'll turn it down to make your dry signal stand out, but then whenever you cut your dry signal off, the delay will actually turn up and become more noticeable. So this is how you would do like kind of like trails, trailing type of effects. So let's check it out. So yeah, you can notice that whenever I'm playing, you really can't hear the delay too much, but then whenever I stop playing, all of a sudden it comes like kind of whooshing in. So that's kind of the concept behind this delay. Yeah. It's kind of like a trailing ending type of effect. Is basically what you would use this for, and you can control how much it's actually ducking right here. So if you wanted the delay signal to be a little bit more in there, then you would back this down. So now that I have it turned down a little bit, you should be able to notice it more while I'm playing. And if I turn it up a lot, like right here, you should basically not really be able to hear it at all until I stop playing. So that's a kind of nice little effect. Reverse delay. This is the Line 6 original. As the name would suggest, it's basically taking your repeats and reversing them to kind of give you some interesting soundscape and textures and whatnot. Very similar controls to what we had in some of the other pedals with your coarse vibrato modulation mode. So let's right now the modulation mode is bypass. So it's basically going to reverse it, but it's not going to modulate it any further from that. So if you wanted it reversed with extra modulation, then you would just turn on the modulation mode. So here we go. Let me turn the chorus on, give you all an idea. I actually like that. That's pretty cool. Let's check out the vibrato, just to play around with it. Sweet. Vintage Digital. This another Line 6 original. So, and this is where I ran into problems the last time I was recording this video, but I think we're running smoothly today. So this is actually going to give you the ability to downsample your repeats to kind of add a little bit more texturization to it. You can see your selected bit depth right here. So the higher you go, the more in keeping with the basically the higher you go, it's going to be more in keeping with your signal, but the lower you go, it's going to sound more squashed and more 8-bit, more Nintendo sounding type of a thing. Okay, so let's mess around with this. Right now I have it, well, let's go ahead and switch it back to where it was. I think it was at 10. Let's check this out. So you can see that sounds pretty good. Let's put the sample rate down and see what happens. So let me try something real quick. I'm gonna put the mix up all the way, and then I'm gonna put my time down all the way, as well as my feedback. I'll put the feedback all the way. So basically, what this should be is just my straight input without any sort of repeats. But this will allow us to hear the actual bit crushing a little bit better. So. Crush that a little bit more. So yeah, it's adding noise, adding stuff like that. Let's I'm gonna keep the bit rate, or I'm gonna keep the sample rate. Well, I'm gonna turn that down to 8 and bump up the bit depth to see what this sounds like. So yeah, you can tell that's kind of making it sound, you know, for lack of a better word, a lot older. Like it was recorded kind of like on some sort of record player or something like that. So yeah, if I put my mix all the way down, so this is just my dry signal. And put my mix all the way up. And yeah, so you know that kind of gives you the idea of the colorization that's happening with the signal. It's really just kind of degrading it. It's basically a bit crusher, so it's a delay with a bit crusher built into it. So if I go back to my regular settings, crank this down. So it's letting my dry signal pass through, and then my repeats are getting bit crushed. So. Cool. Vintage Swell. Another Line 6 original. I'm not really sure what this is going to do. I'm imagining it's going to kind of be like the Duct Delay maybe. And kind of whenever I'm not playing is when it'll maybe get louder. Let's try this out, see what happens. So you can tell it's actually kind of lowering the attack to where whenever I start playing, the volume kind of gradually builds, and then I guess once it hits its apex, it kind of stays there. But I guess it'd be kind of cool if you were trying to do like volume swells, like you would do with your guitar input knob, but instead just doing it basically in a pedal form. So that's pretty cool. Pitch Echo, another Line 6 original. You guys noticing a pattern yet? There's actually some, looks like we're about to hit some ones that are actually based on actual hardware units. But Pitch Echo, I'm assuming, is going to take your repeats and pitch them up. So you can tell by the interval, my repeats are going to be bumped up 5 semitones, which is going to be a third. If I wanted to have them at a fifth, and then I would do 7 semitones. So let's try that out. Sense is if you want to dial in just a little bit more, detunement in between the actual semitone intervals. So yeah, let's check this out. cool. I like that. I can picture maybe using that and getting some interesting sounds. Transistor Tape. So this is actually going to be based on the Maestro Echoplex. So yeah, it's basically a tape delay. I myself have never really messed around with tape delays because they're pretty expensive. I know Misha Mansour from Periphery. He'll post stuff on his Instagram. He kind of went through a kick last summer of buying a bunch of tape delays, and it's pretty interesting to check them out because the actual tape just kind of like wiggles around and acts all crazy, and you can get some really cool sounds out of it. So let's turn this out, turn this on, see what's going on with it. So yeah, it's giving you giving your delay signal and kind of coloring it out a little bit. Get your wow flutter. This is basically gonna show how much colorization is going on with the delay unit. So let me crank the mix up a little bit and then crank this wow up so you can really kind of get an idea of what's going on. Heck, let me do what I did on that other pedal. I'm going to crank all this down, crank this all the way up. Or my mix. I'm going to crank my mix up. Okay. So this is all wet signal. My direct input with the wow all the way up. To give you an idea how much it's coloring the signal. Here's with the wow turned down. Cool. Be something to mess around with. Cosmos Echo, based on the Roland RE Space Echo. I think this is a rack mount effect unit. Some kind of interesting features we have in this particular unit. Let's turn it on and see what happens. So you can hear that flutter at the end, or just that tail, like the what. So that kind of sounds like something specific to this. And it looks like there's different mode types in here, different things to try out. The splice, I don't know what that is. Let's go off. Mix all the way up. See, the first time I tried to record this video, that's where I was messing up. Is that I'd gotten about this far into the video and I was trying to give a complete wet signal, and I realized my dry signal was still coming through. And so I just threw my hands up and said, screw this, I'm going to take my ball and go home. But anyway, we should get now a better idea of exactly how this is. What? That's wild. assuming the splice is doing that. Let's crank this splice down and see what happens. Very interesting. Very something that seems like very specific characteristic of this particular unit. Let's change the mode. Let's mess around with this too. I'm going to turn this up. Let's go back to here, the initial mode that I was in. I'm going to turn this FB tone. I don't know if that's feedback tone. I guess that's probably what that is. So. This is some weird, wild stuff. So I'm messing around with the mode. You kind of see that that's giving it a little bit of a cleaner sound. And I'm assuming when you go over to these modes, I think it's splitting the signal into like 3 different signals, and then you can kind of choose which ones you want to use and in what combination. So the first one I was on was 2-3. Let's go 1-3. So that's pretty interesting. I think this is definitely so far from what I'm seeing, probably the most, the biggest one as far as just diving into it and really seeing what kind of different sounds you can get out of it. So. Pretty cool. Let's move on. Harmony delay. This is a Line 6 original. I'm assuming by the name, this is going to pretty much be similar to the pitch echo, but it looks like it's actually giving specific criteria as far as your key and your scale, which is pretty cool. It's nice to be able to stay in tune. And it looks like it's splitting into 2 different voices. So let's pick G major, I guess. And let's check it out. that is pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen a lot of videos with this is kind of a new thing going around with pedals. I mean, I'm sure it's not a new thing, but it seems like something that's gotten really popular lately is these types of pedals to where you can just play a note and it will actually carry out. It's basically taking your single note and making a triad out of it, and then playing it in succession to where it's sounding more like a chord. It's not necessarily designed like the pitch echo, for example, is kind of designed to sound like it's a harmony playing along with the guitar, whereas this is actually turning it. It's really more of an arpeggiator to where it's creating a triad arpeggio to make it turn into a chord. But that's pretty cool. I think, man, I could definitely see some potential with this. You can tell it kind of loses its luster whenever you start actually playing chords. So this is kind of something you would want to do with single notes. But yeah, that is cool. I'm definitely going to be coming back to this and messing around with it. Moving on, Bucket Brigade. Looks like we're getting into some Boss stomp boxes. So this is a Boss, based on the Boss DM2. And yeah, doesn't look like there's anything too crazy going on here. So let's check this out. Cool. Doesn't look like there's anything too crazy going on with it. Pretty much just a straight up, just good sounding analog delay, possibly a digital delay. I mean, it's of course if it's a digital delay, but I think it might be based on an analog delay. I'll fact check that later. Adriatic Delay. This is based on the Boss DM2 with the Adrian mod. So let's check this out. Pretty cool. BBD size, not exactly sure what that is. I'm assuming that's some sort of, possibly a bit crusher, maybe. Because these numbers seem like they correlate with sample rates. So, just for the sake of whatever, let's make this completely wet. See a little bit better what's going on with this. I'll crank this depth up a little bit. Hopefully accentuate the processing going on. So yeah, you can see it's crushing it, and then it's also kind of giving it a little bit of pan left, right. Yeah, I think if I put this depth all the way down, it's actually going to get rid of that stereo. Yeah, so I put the depth all the way down. You can see by my input signal that, or my output signal, that we're in mono now. So if I crank this depth up and maybe crank this up a little bit. You should notice some more fluctuation between the left and right channels. So that's cool. I actually like that. Let's change. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be my different sample rates. So I was at 4096. I think if I crank this down to 1024, it's going to be really crushed. So. I really can't hear too much going on with that. Let's crank this noise up, see what happens. I don't know, something to mess around with. Adriatic swell, going back to the swell, the vintage swell that we had earlier. I'm assuming this is going to give us a similar effect to that, towards basically a volume swell. So. Pretty cool if you're into that. Elephant Man, based on the Electro Harmonix Deluxe Memory Man. Very, very sought after boutique pedal. So let's check this out. Cool. Sounds pretty good. Not really a whole hell of a lot going on there. So it's basically just a basic delay with different tonality from the Line 6 one. This is where we start getting into some interesting type of glitch delays and stuff like that. So people that really want to get experimental with their delays, this is kind of the spot for you, the multipass and the glitch delay. There's, what is it, 8 different patterns. I'm assuming it's going to give you different rhythmic qualities. Had it on delay. I'm going to switch it over to echo. So yeah, I guess the different patterns are just how it's splitting up the signal and the different playback options, I guess. Like going back to like the Multitap 4 and the Multitap 6, where you can like really get specific about where you want things placed and how you want them placed. This, I'm assuming, kind of does it for you. So if you're into that kind of thing, sometimes less options is better, so you don't have to pull your hair out trying to decide where you want everything. Okay, so here's the glitch delay. This is a Line 6 original, and let's try it out, see what happens. So yeah, this kind of gives you some really interesting type of stuff. You can hear the octaver in there every now and again. It'll throw in a really low note. So this is just one of those type of effects. You just kind of play around with the knobs and just kind of see what happens. In the world of synthesizers, that's kind of a lot of what sound design is just really just kind of tweaking the knobs and seeing what kind of interesting sounds you can get out of it. So that's pretty much what this would be used for. And this would also be a really good pedal to use in conjunction with some sort of foot switch controller. Either if you have a Line 6 Helix controller, or if you're like me and have the Behringer just MIDI foot controller, then you can set it up to work in conjunction with this. You probably get some cool, neat results out of that. So that is it for our actual stereo. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I'm missing. So there's a poly sustain. So this is where it's going to get interesting, because this might crash my system. The poly sustain. Okay. So this is one of the new ones that came out with the firmware update, and you're going to these take up so much processing power. The poly ones. I think there was also some on the. I don't know. There's a few of these that they added. I think they're either under modulation or under pitch synth. Yeah, I think they're under pitch synth. Anyway, I believe I went over this in my firmware update video, so y'all can check that out if you so wish to. But yeah, this is these take up so much processing power that you have to actually initialize a new patch and then activate these the poly sustain delay, because otherwise it just like crashes it out. Like, it's not even letting me put it in here. So if you wanted to mess around with it, you would have to completely make a new patch and then put this in there and then build your patch basically around it. Yeah, I guess Line 6 did that just to make sure that it didn't just completely crash your system, because they'd probably be getting a lot of angry phone calls about that. But like I said, I went over this in my other video, and maybe in my other video I said that I would go over it more in this video. But yeah, it's another, like I was talking about with the glitch delay. This is basically something that you're going to want to use in conjunction with the foot controller to activate it. So there's really not, I don't have my foot controller hooked up right now, so there's really not too much that I can do with it. But it's there if you want to mess around with it and get comfortable with it. So that's the mono tab. Stereo tab is what I went over, and that's a specific pedal that's inside of the mono tab of the delay tab. I don't think there's any other specific mono. Yeah, that's really the only delay effect that you're going to find specifically in the mono tab that you won't find in the stereo tab is the poly sustain. So if you're looking for it, that's where it is. And let's go over here to the legacy tab, as we typically do here on these deep dives. I'm just kind of quickly go through these. A lot of these are Line 6 originals. The ping pong is probably similar to the other ping pong that's in the stereo tab. It's just kind of one of their older versions of it. Dynamic. This is based on the TC Electronic 2290. So yeah, this is ducking. You can talk about the ducking tab right here. This is actually ducking the signal until you hold out a note or stop playing, and then it actually brings in the delay signal. Stereo, Line 6 original, probably just standard stereo delay. Yeah. Digital, Line 6 original, just digital delay. Yeah, it sounds like this one's actually not in stereo, so it's basically just a mono delay in the legacy tab. Digital delay with mod. Yeah, so it's a digital delay. This one's actually in stereo, and yeah, mod speed, feedback. I'm assuming it's some sort of chorus effect. And so yeah, just a little bit more seasoning on there. Reverse, as you could probably guess, reverse reverb, another Line 6 original. So when I pulled this up, this is actually has my mix at 100. So this is really just a straight up take this guitar signal and reverse it. So kind of one of those textural type things that you can mess around with. Low res, Line 6 original, probably delay with the bit crusher on it. Let's check this out. Tube echo. It's actually based on the Maestro Echoplex EP1. So it's probably similar to the tape echo that we had over in the stereo tab. And you can see the wow filter. There's also a drive knob on here. Let's mess around with this. That sounds pretty good. I like that. Pretty sweet, pretty sweet. Tape echo. So this is based on the Maestro Echoplex EP1. Sweep echo is going to be like we talked about earlier with a wah effect added to the repeats. Echo platter based on the Benson Echo Rec. Okay. It also has a wow filter on it, so it's probably some sort of a tape type of delay unit. Analog echo based on the Boss DM2. Pretty cool little analog delay. Analog with mod. This is going to be based on the Electro Harmonics Deluxe Memory Man, I believe. Is that what that is? Yeah. Deluxe Memory Man. Auto volume echo. Let's see what's going on with this. It's probably going to be some sort of a tremolo effect, but let's check it out. So yeah, it's basically a swell delay. And last but not least, the multi-head. So it looks like there's a couple of different controls on here. Let's check this out. And, you know, you can see right here, it gives you a lot of options as far as which of these heads you're wanting to use, which ones you're not wanting to use, and so on and so forth. And that is basically it for the delay options that you have here inside of Line 6 Helix Native. Good to be back making these videos. Really digging the software, and I hope you are too. Hope you have enjoyed the ride thus far. Wasn't sure how I was going to feel about actually playing while I was doing this, but I was having fun today. It was a fun little hangout session, you know. That's really what these videos are all about. Just kind of hanging out, going over everything, and walking through this process together. I'm bringing you along for the ride. But anyways, with all that being said, my name is Atomic Moon. Be on the lookout for more of these videos. We got the Reverb models coming up, as well as the pitch synth. And then, lo and behold, eventually here we're going to be getting into the amps and the cabinets. And I'm trying to figure out exactly how I want to do those videos, but I'll get it figured out. And we'll be on our way to getting all this stuff wrapped up. So, thank everybody for, if you are sitting here watching this, I really appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe, like, and comment. Tell me things. Tell me what you're feeling. Tell me about your day. Tell me, you know, give me some notes, man. I need some notes. Alrighty, guys. Thank you guys for watching. I will catch you guys next time.